It's Dr. Rich Mclean. Traditionally, scapegoats and people framed and categorically oppressed and rejected from the world for whatever reason, in a Jungian archetypal sense, are scapegoats, and they are historically either oppressed, burned at the stake, killed, tortured, or made a freak show. This story today goes straight to the top, and it's framed by the federal government of the Office of Prime Minister and Cabinet, and this message is to the police and the people of Australia with great love, and it's regarding my scapegoating and the fact that in a few days' time the police will move me on from my home. This is abhorrent because I cannot report any crime to police. Now, indeed, a conspiracy to pervert the course of justice has indeed occurred, and I've been forsaken by every person on the planet, family, friends. But I forgive you all, and I'm going to turn this shit sandwich of a life into a good thing for humanity. So please bear with me as I explain to the police the crimes that I can't report, that I have evidence for below, and the conspiracy to pervert the course of justice, which is so broad and exploits already existing prejudices within people and society that every single person is on board. I'm either too sane, too insane, too poor, too rich, too smart, or too dumb. I'm a human being. I'm a spirit actually, having a human experience. But I'm going to turn this into something good. Please bear with me while I go through it. Thanks. Hello, this is my official police statement from my experience, existential experience, to man-made law. On the website killhim.info is information regarding the Office of Prime Minister and Cabinet and my freedom of information from that government agency. You'll see below quite simply, at first it says it was voluminous like a pert breast and complex, and now I don't exist. That's because I'm a scapegoat. However, I do exist, but every step of the way I've been set up to fail and exploited for prejudices via people in positions of power and privilege who use their agency to deny me justice in a small way, just a stick in the many millions of sticks that have rejected me, as the faggot that have oppressed me across a long time. I'm a public person, I have a public profile, and now as a semi-famous person speaking on holistic recovery, I've been damned to hell to be a vagrant, and further than that, I launched the website killhim.info in order to describe in detail, screaming out for help, that this systemic government oppression actually led to my suicide attempt. The agency of killing myself was not entirely mine. There was an element of me doing the act. However, the movement to oppress me has various very powerful political key stakeholders who are part of this, and I will detail now to the police before they move me on that I have been robbed, that I am a victim of multi-million dollars in detriment, and that in fact the federal government knows exactly who I am because I've actually spoken in Parliament, and I've spoken to Dubbo, and I've gone overseas, and I was engaged to an ASIC agent who's a criminal. Now, in my story, everyone gets forgiven. However, that doesn't take the place of the insurance companies paying for the detriment, and it doesn't take the place of me pursuing litigation against people that I will not harm. It's just litigation. Like this movement of oppression has literally murdered me, and then the government has then gone across and whitewashed it. And they've convinced every single person on the planet, including my family, my friends, that the taboo of death and sticking up for yourself is not a right thing to do. I don't believe it's true, and I believe that the time to speak the honest truth is now, and this is my statement for the police and the police commissioner and the government, who are going to purposely move me on within 5 days from my home where I squat with my dog. And further to that, I cannot report crime to police. And this is an abhorrent juxtaposition which desecrates the Charter of Human Rights of people with a disability, ratified by the government in 2008, which clearly states as a man-made law and a charter that's foundation of this country that we must have people with a disability have a home, that they have food and medication, that they are free from exploitation, that they are not persecuted or prejudiced, and that they are free from torture. And this forsaking me over so long, and the movement to oppress, deny, silence, and whitewash me and my life, even pre my death and after my death, I call it my death, still exists, and it is highly indicative of the state of the hypocrisy and the scale of this this heinous character assassination when you have a look at the videos below. So bear with me as I go through what's going to happen. There's a few live criminal cases that are still going on, and the movement to oppress me oppresses me right in the money. It's exploited me for many years, and I've been fired, I've been abused, I've been raped, I've been drugged, not of my choice. I've been ostracized, neglected, I've been held to judgment, and I've been just flat out oppressed. I've been the unwitting victim of a conspiracy to pervert the course of justice, and I am a human being with sentience, and the physical body that I'm in deserves to be looked after in a physical way, which means access to healthcare and food, medication, that kind of stuff. And I've been deficient in that for over 16 months since I was unethically dumped from Werribee Mercy Hospital. And as a person with a mental illness, I didn't see a psychiatrist. I only saw one twice in 10 months, and the second time was to officially exonerate me from the service. Now, this is abhorrent, and I just want to say that when they kicked me out, I had no food, no car, no job now, and that I was bereft of any prosperity or hope, and that these conditions, as a person who'd not only overdosed from being sad, from grief and being isolated, when a friend of mine died, but who had actually gone to the physical effort of slicing his own artery open and bleeding out at the bottom of a loony bin floor. Those conditions, that process of looking after me post my death was not just a bad public mental health system. It's actually a highly intelligently designed mechanism and methodology to aid and abet my death. It's been 16 months since I suicided and the evidence just below will clearly state from hospital records that it was a fatal injury and a lethal attempt. I was reluctantly saved, and it was whitewashed. Not one person stood up for me in the defence of the systemic oppression and prejudice and stigma that's got me my whole life, leading up to that in the defence of a case with a malpractice case, which is still live. And further than that, not one person had my back, and very few people could understand the breadth and the depth of my existential experience as a human rights awarded public advocate and recovery coach who has spoken from Montreal to Parliament House to opening keynote presentations in Sydney, Canberra and Melbourne to Dubbo to Warrnambool to hundreds and hundreds of speeches. Now, the Office of Prime Minister and Cabinet at first said my freedom of information was voluminous and complex, and now I don't exist. That's exactly how they want it to be. But I have something that's God-given. It's called sentience. And even though the detriment suffered from that injury in hospital is profound, and it's my memory, memory doesn't matter. You just keep going like water to the fish. But I can't even feel my feet, and my attitude changed after not one person had my back, and I was either scapegoated for whatever reason, being gay, taking drugs, for having a mental illness, for the taboo of death, and not one person really acknowledged the entirety of my experience, and in other ways they were heinously directly hurtful and oppressive for reasons that I think, for me, are at the defence of people who realise my authenticity and are scared of what I might say or do to their privilege and their political power, and the fact that I may expose them for actually having scapegoated and neglected me over my whole life. So look, I want to serve again. I live to serve, and I'm a happy person, even though I've got no one. I've got a good dog, she's good. And the people that have helped me in great doubt are going to be the obvious people that are going to benefit from I think the detriment that is going to be paid, because it is abhorrent that malpractice occur in the way that it did with Dr. Whittaker and his lawyer, Mr. Ball of Ball and Partners, who I didn't realise was a A1 lawyer, most expensive in the country, and that he sits on the legal bar of Australia and informs government policy. And there's my former partner too, an ASIC agent, who I don't have evidence that he said he was present at a murder and drug dealt for all these years and embezzled $1.2 million in an offshore tax haven. But look, I don't wish him harm, but systemically and by the attacks via proxy, he has actually aided and abetted my death. So I don't want to do that to him. All I'm saying is truth, and it's authentic, and it's what I know, and the only evidence I have of that even happening, the murder thing, was that I tried to get an atonement for the relationship we had together, and lo and behold, I threatened it only days before I was incarcerated, and Steve threatened me in heinous ways online, and threatened to destroy my career. But you can't just... Well, my career was destroyed. I'll talk about that in a sec. Hang on. I am a political prisoner, Dr. Rich Mclean, and I am that via nature of people's exploitation and their prejudice and their stigma. And the fact that it exploits already existing prejudices within people and society, and that it is very easy to scapegoat me and very easy to kill me. And it worked. I survived. I lived, and then 16 months of absolute poverty is not even the word. It's not sufficient for the Australian government to put someone who's been on a DSP before and who's just survived a lethal suicide attempt, which they had the records for, and put him on Centrelink. It's not sufficient that I can't take legal action against Dr. Whittaker, because even if I was an extortionist, which I'm not, that innocuous recording of the malpractice would obviously reward a detriment cost. And the fact that the following organisations, APRA, NHP, OPC, the police, Health Complaints Commissioner, Mental Health Complaints Commissioner, all those, and IBAC and the Ombudsman, all acted with Greg Hunt incongruency to cover up that and silence that evidence, is a conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. All my prosecution needs to prove in the High Court is that 3 or more people acted politically to cause detriment to a person, and that they did so either directly or via omission to pervert the course of justice. I could put the whole world away. Now that was just one little conspiracy, and added into the former partner thing, he owes me about $500,000. I'd like that immediately atoned, please, because the police won't listen to it, and because I'm banned from all lawyers from the legal bar, because Steve is a powerful person, having been high up in ASIO and David Irvine was his boss, and that he does owe me that detriment, and no one actually stood up for me for saying, yeah, you kind of do deserve half of what he was, feathering his own nest with while he exploited me, and I spent my nest egg on him. And when my nest egg was exploited and I was tricked, then he of course had his next victim to move on to. But these lessons come to us as ways to grow, and I have, and look, I'm appreciative of my life. I love my sentience, I love my brutal honesty, and I'm well aware that as soon as I try and explain it to people, either I'm framed for being a drug addict, or I'm framed for being mad, or I'm framed for being gay, or I'm framed for rapist, pedophile. I've heard them all, and I was have been actively exploited by the prejudices that have been placed on me, and actual people in physical spaces, and by the nature of communication that exploit already existing guilt vulnerabilities from me, in order to, that I've expressed publicly in a book, Recovered Not Cured, which was my experience with what I now call, as a more actualized person, a not psychosis, but in non-ordinary reality, and it's faction. It's half faction, half fiction, and nowadays people still exploit those things because they know I'm vulnerable to them, and that is not just innocuous ignoring of a victim, that is a pointedly active victimization, and victimization is against the law. It is unethical for police to move me on from a house when the DFFS, the housing service, has already rejected me, and that Dan Andrews, when I pointed out all this detriment and political sabotage and conspiracies and all that, sent me in the exact direction of the hospital in which that I had already died in. It's a bit of a joke, being exploited for a mad person consistently and constantly, even after you die and survive, and having your prosperity intelligently, maliciously and vindictively designed to oppress and devalue and to cause you deficiency and to rob you of power or agency to speak. Now, I haven't known, of course, that I've been set up to fail for years and years. It all came about with the Allen and Unwin book, and when Recovered Not Cured was released, it was kind of a way to explain to my parents I was gay, actually, because I was so homophobic. But anyway, there's a few complexities in that. First of all, was that it didn't go into my childhood. That was kind of blocked out of me because I didn't really realise I was a neglected middle child till much later on, and someone who'd suffered the tragedy of child sexual abuse. Now, further to that, my consensual but regretful romp with Debbie Morgan, hi Deb, was I guess I carried that guilt of the child sexual abuse till I was 44, and then I told people. So, of course, framed by that experience, that first losing the virginity experience, with the first consensual sex you have, without it being forced on you as a child by inappropriate people, it upset me in very conscious ways that were well deep within my self-conscious, and the implied homophobia in gay society and that kind of stuff, and the fact that I didn't know I was gay, but really amplified into that delusional system, and that went further and further, and on, and it's gone out and out. And funnily enough, I thought I was doing a pretty good job. I worked from the heart, and I went out and spoke about that for nearly 25 years. Most people spend their lives selling their soul to a company to get a mortgage, to do this or that. I did work from the heart, and I followed my passions to the beat of my own drum, and I have been a bit punk in my ethic. But look, it was consensual section, and that book got me fired from The Age, only within a month of it going public, and the Herald Sun vilifying me, calling it my descent into madness. And in actual fact, as a self-reflexive reflection of your discordancy or your non-ordinary reality, and epically and accurately describing life as a child and teenager and young adult in the 80s and 90s, it was more sane than a sane person. And I think it was brave and courageous, and I think I have worked from the heart, and I'll continue to work from the heart. And these people that have helped me in my period of utter fucking desecration and the aiding and abetting of my death that has occurred again and again for a long time, 16 months at least, and still going, are going to be rewarded, and I'm going to turn this mountains of detriment into, I don't want a lush life, I don't. I just want a simple place, safe from death threats, where I'm safe as a human being monkey, and that I can continue to do my work as a from the heart and in an authentic way. And in particular, rather than being just not anti-fascism, I think it's not enough to be anti-fascist. I mean, fascist or just neutral. You have to be anti-fascist. It's not enough just to say I'm not racist. You have to be anti-racist. It's not enough to say I'm not homophobic. You've got to be actively anti-oppression. My experience in life has been a lot of oppression, and it's been a good teacher. What a blessing. And I'm going to use the detriment that's caused by the situation right now that's proven below, that I can't go to the police, I can't be a whistleblower, and I can't get a lawyer. In other words, what's the end game? The end game was to kill me. And they already did, and then they covered it up. 16 months later, they're still trying. And the people that helped me, I'm very grateful for. They're going to get rewarded. They know who they are, and I'm going to continue my role because I've opened an account, even if I do die, of a silent CEO or organizer of an NGO that helps marginalised people. And in that, I'm going to particularly help the following people. They are victims of child sexual abuse. They will be channeled into education to talk about sexual politics and consent and ethics. And there is another section that's going to be given to a very underrepresented group in society of the intersex and trans people and children, and the education of the parents of those children, that when a child is born, they need the approval and love of their parents. To not get this is a highly detrimental thing in a person's life. And I forgive my parents for their consciously choosing of ignorance, however, and their prejudice and their part in the conspiracy to kill me, but and they're not defending me, but look, I've come to terms with that, and I think that as long as I have a safe place to stay, I'm not going to be barking out at people, because if you're treated like a dog and kept in a cage, you are aggravation and rage, and it does send you crazy. And when the police come, if I said there's a conspiracy to murder the cause of justice, they're going to say, okay, lock him up, boys. That's clearly not the case. I'm articulate, I'm intelligent, you're forgetful. And, that's right, I was thinking, so that's my memory loss again. I'm going to support incarcerated Aboriginal youth who are, through systemic racism, absolutely abhorrently represented in those communities, and put some education back into those communities. I'm going to, what else was the thing I was going to do? Dogs. The Lost Dogs Home is going to benefit, and also Sane Australia and those things, they do a good job, but there's a problem of us and them, and I just want to talk a little bit about a public service officer who's in government agencies, or any agency in the government. They have a responsibility in the Charter of Human Rights with a disability for not to act outside of that charter. Every single person I've talked to has acted without the side of that charter. I deserve a lawyer. I have a case right now, a work cover case. It's probably a TPD case at the AAT. And it's been covered up by work cover, Comcare. I've been set up to fail. I was set up to fail. That's a multi-million-dollar case there. And I need the whistle blown right away. I need to blow the whistle on the supposedly neutral Australian Human Rights Centre, who aren't about human rights at all. They're a political front for a tyrannistic government to oppress people. They free-kicked $1.5 million case to my opposition in a discrimination case, which isn't very impartial. I've lost at Comcare, AFCA. They have a statutory obligation to act within 4 weeks for people with who are marginalised. I begged them in the HCF, my insurer, to help me before I went to hospital, but the design was to make me crazy enough that I'd be incarcerated in order to punish me. And that was backed up by Steve Isonides, and backed up again by the incredible power of a very silent and faceless Mr. Ball of Ball and Partners, and all of those agencies that were in the small conspiracy to avert the cause of justice, which covered up the malpractice case, and you're allowed to have 6 years till you can bring it. It is still live. I lost my train of thought. I'm going to wrap up soon, but yeah, I don't think, framed by everything that I've said, and articulated that it's going to be possible for the police to move me on. Now, I just want to say from killhim.info, when you go there, I'm a scapegoat. It's caused my suicide. I've been rejected by police, can't get a lawyer, and a rejected whistleblower at IBAC, ASIC, APRA, AFSA, and the Commonwealth Ombudsman. And I worked for 25 years for in helping people. And all these organisations, there's so many, the Victims of Crime Commissioner, the Attorney General. My business was destroyed intelligently and via systemic agencies of devaluing and criticising and exploiting me as a person who was insufficient for the work, and my work was rendered illegitimate by 2 failed VOCAT cases, and I was doing a case for my client who was a VOCAT, who was a victim of sexual abuse as a child, rape and incest, and I was articulating his journey over 2 years. He was unable to do so himself, as people often are, and I had been rendered illegitimate. In addition to that, I was amplified by the distress of my own sexual abuse case, in which a magistrate was clearly framed because Dr. Ball framed me as an extortionist, and due to the Whittaker case, and the magistrate told me, quote unquote, I was doomed to fail. So, framed by all that, it's quite odd. The Office of Prime Minister and Cabinet would say that I don't exist. They would prefer that I don't. But for people who invest in my simple, basic as batshit life, to root, sometimes get high, have a drink, walk my dog, be a basic person, there will be an enormous reward. And I just want to say that I think I need to accept my role now as de-identifying the ego as an ego death, and trying to take up the role as a transition expert, and that is for one thing, in a non-fascist and heartfelt way, turn the detriment that I've suffered in multi-millions of dollars and the conspiracy to pervert the course of justice and my manslaughter in its cover-up into the NGO and the political organisation that will go on to assist marginalised people. I'd like to thank you for listening to my little speech, and I just want to say there's plenty of evidence on killhim.info that the NDIS are cooked. They don't help me. The NDIS Minister condoned me to vagrancy. I begged them. The Fair Work Commission doesn't help. Minister Birmingham, many agencies. AFCA, they watched me burn for 2 years. HCF Senior Jack caught her out with fraud. They still won't pay me. This is beyond and goes beyond deeper and deeper what these agencies do. I'm surprised someone hasn't crossed the floor yet. They must have had some pretty good slander against me. ASIC covered up AFCA, ASIC, Victorian Human Rights and Equal Opportunity Commission, I can't even make a complaint. APRA, NHP, OPC, the Victorian Inspectorate, IBAC, Federal Ombudsman, Geelong Magistrates Court, the Office of the Public Prosecutions, they want to know about me. Centrelink, part of it, Human Services, business.gov.au. Thanks Micron21 for deliberately destroying my my business that I worked on for 25 years. And SBFO, Small Business Family Ombudsman, Telecommunications Industry Ombudsman, the Victorian Ombudsman, Ben Calder, thanks for covering up my murder, and the National Ombudsman, AFCA, HCC, M Health CC, thanks Commissioner Jennings. HCF, thanks, I'll have that $75,000 now, you got it wrong. WorkSafe, thank you. I will now cast my ballot to say that every member, including Pinnell, and the atrocious actions of Kate Watson, who the government already killed me and then covered it up, and now my work cover case is over 16 months old, and they are delaying, deferring and denying it. and the government is not only suing me, I know it's like a joke, that they have Kate Watson or Wilson, whatever her name is, to defend not paying me WorkSafe for the injury that I had at the time, which is framed by a broader conspiracy, of course, and she's doing so against all legal principles. Comcare corrupt Paul Fowlers, the old head of WorkSafe, who directed me there, and I also have valid work cover cases that need to be paid till this day. I was actually given a TPD payment in 2007 or 8 for distress. Might have been, I don't know what it was for whatever it was, a label, and they paid me the wrong amount. So I'll be waiting for that to be immediately acknowledged to me via a person who I'll send this to. I think it was I can't remember the insurance company. I've got evidence that they paid the wrong amount of the wrong TPD claim, the units covered. So disability law don't want me, mental health legal centre don't want me, mental health complaints commission don't want me, the Attorney General, she doesn't want me, so many people, and there's enough evidence there that the police just won't listen to me. It's an unfair and atrocious way of victimising one person, and there's also evidence there of the human rights human rights getting tired. The human rights Australian Human Rights Commissioner rejecting absolutely everything. So please help me. I'm getting millions of dollars soon. They can move me on, yes, and I might get compensation before that. However, all these cases are still live. I don't really worry about money. I just need a simple life. But the money I do get will be spent and acknowledged as a transformational thing in alchemy that will help marginalised people. Thanks, that's been my little chat today, and I'd like to thank you all for listening, and I'd like to say a special hello to the Footscray Police who refused to acknowledge my my reports of crime that I've proven over and over of rape, murder, tax evasion, conspiracy to murder, conspiracy to pervert the course of justice, and they are in it, they are corrupt, and I would like my legal issues acknowledged with my human rights as a person with a disability, or at least a brain disorder, and or just because you don't understand me doesn't mean that I'm ill. It means that you're deficient. So yeah, I'd like to just state that it's unethical and illegal also to move someone on who is A, already on the housing register, B, on a pension, C, in COVID, in the middle of winter, and for the sake of Hung Ho, my landlord, hi Hung Ho, I know that's his name, no one will cross the floor to intervene in this. It's a little bit hard and complex to understand, but people get tapped on the shoulder, you know. I've even got the AGIS and ASIO involved, so yeah, I'm speaking from the heart. There's enough evidence that I've collected on killhim.info, which police, I welcome you to come and have a look at. Come and have a look. Come and have a chat to me. Have a cuppa. And I'm sure we can work this out. And I'm absolutely not convinced, but I have hope, you know, that that this detriment and me being forsaken by the world can be transformed into something amazing. Okay. Bless you. Bye.